So now that I did manage to get all caught up on Marvel's Runaways, and given I had a few requests on my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. videos to do some reviews of Runaways, I was like, what the hell, I'm just gonna do reviews of the final 2 episodes of Season 1. So welcome back guys to yet another one of my videos in my review of Episode 9 of Season 1 of Runaways. But let's get started with the fact that you're gonna have to cut me some slack when it comes to this review of Marvel's Runaways. I mean, I'm starting too late into the run of this season. This is pretty much the penultimate episode. So yeah, this review is kind of the definition of being late to the party. And the thing is, when you don't start from the very beginning of a season, you kind of lose a couple of things along the way. The first of these two is structure, because you kind of develop this sense of how you're going to be reviewing the entire season when you do a review of its premiere. But then the other one is foundation, and that one you develop over the course of reviewing so many episodes of the season. And the lack of foundation is basically gonna be my problem over the course of this review. For example, I can't just go and refer to an explanation or a thought I had on the previous episodes on this video because I never shared those thoughts. And that's gonna make this review a much harder job than I want it to be. But I do hope that you all kinda cut me that slack that I did ask for at the beginning of this video. Now I do apologize for this long rant, so let's just get started. As you all know, Marvel's Runaways is based on a comic book series by the same name. And even though I've only read a few issues of the comic book title, I can tell that the series is basing the characters and a lot of events very closely to what they are in the comics. Before I dig deeper though into the events of this week's episode, I'm gonna talk about 2 events from previous episodes that are totally worth noting on this video. The first one is the Stan Lee cameo, and it's always good to see him in the flesh, rather than just a photo on a desk or on a wall or just glued to a building, like the case is with all the other Marvel series.
We're here.
The second moment though that I want to discuss here is all about that future we got to see on Victor Stein's time machine. Now I know I stated on one of my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. videos that this is probably a tie-in with either Infinity War or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And you as well all know that the prospects of any kind of crossover within the MCU is pretty exciting, more like blindingly exciting. But I'm guessing I kind of got a little bit carried away and kind of forgot about the fact that this is Marvel's Runaways, and these are the Pride. Now I cannot believe amidst all my excitement I kind of forgot about this with the Pride and all, but given this is Marvel's Runaways, what we're pretty much dealing with here is the Gibborim from the comics. Now the Gibborim in the comics are a group of gods that united the group we got to know as the Pride in order to use and utilize them for the sole purpose of the destruction of mankind. So it is kind of possible that that future we got to watch on Victor Stein's time machine is basically all about the Gibborim achieving what they wanted to achieve all along from the very start. But that being said, let's hit the core events of this episode. Number 1, now we have known for a few episodes now that Molly's parents, Jean and Alice, have been killed. However though, the show kind of put us under the impression that Tina was behind the murder of Molly's parents. But as this episode starts and as we get to realize that Leslie was the one behind it all, this impression is just so quickly replaced by fact. And I'm kinda guessing that rock we got to see at the very beginning of this episode is how they're planning on explaining Molly's mutation. Now I'm not really sure how they're gonna be explaining Molly's abilities on the series and the fact that she is a mutant. But the thing I'm kinda sure of here is that there are a decent amount of variations when it comes to her storyline and that of her parents. So in the comics, Molly is a mutant, born to 2 mutant parents, and both of them do harbor a shit ton of hatred towards humans. And right about the time the team of Runaways is actually formed, and right about the time that they discover what the Pride really is, and what their parents are involved in, Molly's parents are pretty much alive, and they are pretty much involved in what the Pride is doing. Coming to think about it though, I think the rock and the deviation from her original comic book story is kind of necessary on the series. As a matter of fact, when the series was filmed, Fox did own the rights to both the Mutant title and to the X-Men. Actually as well, until this deal is kind of finalized legally and otherwise, they still hold the deeds to these titles. So chances are Molly's powers are never gonna be explained as part of her being a mutant. I don't think there is any chance they're gonna use the word mutant at all on the series. Now I'm not gonna go in depth on this arc because these are the kind of things that I would have explained on earlier videos if I would have done those kind of reviews. So I'm guessing that kind of explains what I meant when I kept going on and on about Foundation early on this video. But circling back to how we were put under the impression that Tina was behind the murder of Jean and Alice Hernandez in number 2. Now this episode seems to be very rich on background stories for so many characters. So we start getting a background story on Tina, her relationship with Jacob, and what I assume was a younger version of her daughter Amy. And from the moment we get to watch that scene, we kind of get an explanation as to how Tina was kind of forced into a lot of things that she had to do over time. For example, she might have seemed like she sold her friends out on last week's episode, calling Jacob and all. But the truth is, she's possibly doing all of this out of fear of Jacob. I mean, that flashback scene with a younger version of Amy does kind of show you how much fear she does harbor when it comes to Jacob, his threats, and what he can do. So once again, I do like how the series kept throwing us curveballs throughout the past few episodes. We were under the impression that Tina was behind the murder of her own daughter Amy. But the truth is, it is now clear on all fronts that it was not her. And by the look at whoever scared Amy shitless on last week's episode, it seems that they were wearing a male suit, so they are most probably a guy, and he is most probably Jacob. But while still on the flashback to Molly's parents, let's talk number 3. At a first glimpse, it seems like the flashback to Molly's parents' deaths seems to be about how they died and who killed them. But the heart of the matter is, it comes down to the rock that they dug up and the one that gave Molly her powers. And it just ends up connecting with the big reveal of the episode. What are the Pride after? And the answer is, they are after digging up more of that rock. Because it is simply their Doomsday weapon, and it is how the Gibborim are gonna achieve what they wanna achieve. Genocide. So yes, this episode was kind of rightfully titled Doomsday, and it does kind of hint that post-apocalyptic future we got to watch on the Time Machine on episode 5 was basically all about what the Pride is planning. Once again though, this flashback had more to it than just that, because number 4, Molly's parents were actually different than the rest of the Pride. They are actually portrayed on this episode as good people. They didn't realize that their involvement with the Pride would mean genocide. They decided as well to stop Jacob, and they did pay with their lives for it. And as I did mention earlier, that's just another variation from the comics, because over there, they are mutants with a lot of hatred towards humans. The Pride in the comics had all 12 parents for members, and they were all involved in the genocidal plan of the Gibborim. But since the series started, they've been missing 3 core members, Molly's parents, and number 5, Frank finally joining the Pride. That brings the arc even closer to the comics, because unlike what the series presented us with, he's a member of the Pride from the get-go. Still though, he's kinda different because he's still human on the show as compared to his alien nature in the comics. That would as well explain why Leslie did state at the very end that she did have fears of Karolina kind of having powers, yet she did not really know she did have them. We do not have any proof to the fact, but the show did hint at the possibility that Jacob is actually Karolina's father. After all, and once he was sort of revived or given that younger version of himself, he was so eager to meet up with her. But the thing is, we don't really have confirmation on that, so there is the possibility that he's her father, or that Frank is. And since Frank is human and Leslie is probably alien, I'm guessing she wasn't sure she did pass down this trait to Karolina. But the fact that Leslie now knows of Karolina's powers brings us to number 6. So we are at that point where the entire Pride team knows about the entire Runaways team, even though they are yet to earn the title Runaways by actually doing the act of running away. But I'm thinking that's gonna be happening on next week's episode, which is also gonna be acting as the finale of the first season. But finally though, number 7. Now while a lot of people might think this was all about teeny drama, this whole love is in the air kind of situation that was going down on this episode, for example with Gert and Chase, is actually as true as it gets to the comics. The sexual orientation of Karolina, her crush on Nico, that as well is true to the comics. In the comics though, this whole Nico-Karolina situation does not really end up being a thing. So I'm kinda hoping they actually play it the way it is in the comics and end up pairing her with Alex. Now when it comes to Alex and his character, there's like a lot I want to talk about here. But just so I don't prolong this video, I'm just gonna leave all of this for a future video. But that is all I've got for now, so let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode of Runaways. Feel free as well to share all your thoughts, theories, and questions on this episode and all the previous episodes on the season. Now you're going to find my Twitter, Facebook page, and Discord details linked both in the description to this video and on its end screen. So do feel free to drop by at any time and have an open Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Runaways discussion whenever you just feel like it. And remember to let me know if you like this video by dropping it a much appreciated like. And if that were to be the case, it would also be much appreciated if you subscribe and enable notifications for my future videos. But until I see you next time, thank you all for tuning in and have a great day.